Hey friends, Dawn here, welcoming you to the Soul Goals podcast and year number 3. This year, we are diving into expanding our perspectives, challenging our belief systems, and working the mental and emotional muscles of our souls. Though still all about growth and connection, this year finds opportunities to hear from people in our communities that have walked a path that might be different from our own, but that ultimately present us with the chance to look at a subject in a different light and learn other ways we could approach challenges in our own world. Let's get to it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Soul Goals podcast. And if you are not watching on YouTube, you should be, because right to my side, I've got 2 beautiful ladies joining me today in the studio. Yes, ma'am. There's Miss Katie Booth and Miss Ivy Hensley. And let's talk a little bit about these gals. They are fellow voiceover artists with me, and they are also our fellow podcasters. Interestingly, 2 weeks ago, I taped an episode with them where I was their guest on toxic waste of time, which, by the way, their podcast just hit the 1-year mark. So they've been together with this wonderful endeavor that they've been putting out there. It was so much fun to be on y'all's podcast. I'm just telling you, I loved every bit of it. Yeah. You guys, the banter back and forth was amazing. I just genuinely love you guys as people in the first place, because you're authentic, you're real, and you're going to lay it out there like it's meant to be laid out there. Right.
Yeah.
And you're not afraid of it. I think that's kind of a really cool thing. I wanted to have you come on today, and I'm kind of giggling about it because when we said, hey, let's come on and have you talk about the subject of acceptance. And when you think about the word acceptance, it's such a big word. Like it can be acceptance of yourself. It can be acceptance of other people. It can be acceptance of your circumstances. It can be this whole mixed bag of things. So we are going to rip the Band-Aid off today and talk about what acceptance is in your life, how you've walked through it, where you are with it now, and kind of what it means to you, where you are now in this stage of life. So without further ado, guys, welcome to the show, Ivy and Katie.
Yay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Guys, have you had a good day so far? Been going well?
So far, so good. I've been looking forward to this all day.
Oh, I love that. Yay. Well, and if you're also in the Nashville area where we're taping from, this is the first time I think we've seen like sun and some decent weather.
So beautiful.
Right?
Yeah, right. I'm
All
the
the
first
ice and snow
walk
is
with
melted.
I went for a walk without my thermal skirt this morning.
Fabulous.
I gotta love that.
I have Birkenstocks with no socks on.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
nice.
I haven't gone that brave yet. I've still got my boots on, if you can see. Woo, with the fuzzies inside. Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, guys, let's talk about it first. I don't know who wants to jump in here. Whoever's probably brave enough to do it, because we laughed too about when I was on your podcast. We talked about, if it's toxic or non-toxic, and our subject was about moms, right? And what they represent in our lives and our relationships with them. All the things came up, and we talked about maybe needing to go to therapy before or after that
Or during.
During.
Dawn's just our therapist now. That's what
Katie and I were just like, all right, we're just going to use this hour as our own therapy with Dawn.
I love
it was
My
beautiful.
my bill will be in the mail to you guys. I'll send you a PayPal request here
Cool,
in a little bit.
cool.
Right? Yeah.
Well,
All right,
our
so-
appearance bill is double.
Serious. Yeah. All right. Well, who wants to go first? Let's talk about this acceptance. When you think of the word acceptance, I usually think about it on an emotional level, like how I'm accepting myself. There have been days where I'm like, do I really accept the people that are around me in my household? Because I really don't like them right now. So wherever it is for you today, Katie, you want to tell me a little bit about what you feel when the word acceptance kind of pops up in your brain?
Yeah, well, definitely coming off of the episode that Ivy and I just taped about body image, I am thinking about self-acceptance most of all. There's some other definitions that kind of came up when I was going through your questions, but the first thing it made me think of was all of the work that I've had to do and I am still doing to try and accept myself the way that I am. I've always felt like a bit of a weirdo, but finally, about when I turned 30, I started to really accept myself without making apologies for anything. So
Mm.
I think it means recognizing your strengths and your flaws and sort of agreeing that part of loving yourself comes from acknowledging what you need to work on to become your best self, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah, that's big. Do you think maybe it comes with age? Because you just said, like, I think maybe you get to a certain point and you go, okay, I've had
Mhm.
enough life experience kind of in my back pocket. And now either I can like fight this or I can start to really lean into it maybe a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. You know, in my 20s, I was sort of afraid of turning 30, you know? And then
Yeah.
in my 30s, I wasn't afraid of turning 40 because I was like, well, 30 turned out to be great. Like my 30s were better than my 20s and my 40s
Mhm.
have been better than my 30s. So, whatever. We're just getting better with age over here.
Okay.
Um,
But pause for just a second because I'm just going to say, you're 40?
I'm
She's
42.
more than 40. Can you
Yeah.
believe it?
You look like such a doll baby. You look like you're
Thank you.
probably 31.
I,
I appreciate that.
I
It's
thought
genetic. I'm sorry.
when Katie and I first started, I thought that like I could be my podcast partner's mom almost. And
Yeah.
then I found out that she was 42 years old. 42, right? Is that how
Yeah.
old you were at the time? And wow.
I'm just like, okay, right there, right there we go. Got blown away. You look amazing. You're
Thank you,
gorgeous. I
girl.
would have never ever guessed that. So, yeah, so then that question of as we age becomes
Mhm.
pretty relative because then you got that experience kind of under your belt. I mean,
Mhm.
Ivy, what do you think about acceptance as a whole for you, where it pertains to your life, maybe where you are now or where you've been?
Well, the first thing that came to mind was the absence of control.
Ooh,
So when you can't control something, you have really 2 choices. You can either accept it or you can just be disgruntled. Like, you know, and so you gotta accept it with a little bit of gratitude no matter what it is. Um, and after I gave it a bunch of thought and filled out this questionnaire you sent, I looked it up.
okay.
And
Okay.
through through the whole process of filling this out, I never once thought about accepting something, accepting a gift, accepting something. And so that's when I thought, well, just because I've accepted the fact that I have bags under my eyes doesn't mean I like it,
Mhm.
right?
So good. Yeah.
So it's not always accepting and being like this big, like I'm so open-minded that I have
Mm,
accepted all of this stuff. It's just if you don't accept some things, you're gonna go crazy.
yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Pretty
It's
much.
such interesting. It's that like versus accept. I love what you said. I mean, I don't have to like, I know like the bags under my eyes. I don't
Mhm.
have to like the fact that I can't lift as heavy weights as maybe I used to, or run as fast as I used
Mhm.
to if I'm working out,
Mhm.
or remember something as easily as I used to, right?
Yeah.
But I don't have to like it. But I love that you said that it's that control comes into
It's the
play. I mean,
absence of
like you said,
control. Well, I mean, because like I said, you choose to either accept something and be grateful for it or for the ability to accept it or just live in that unhappiness about it. And I
yeah.
used to speaking like when Katie was saying about getting older and all of that stuff, when I used to be younger, um, I would see people who didn't necessarily look a way that I would wanna look, right? Like, whether it be something they're wearing or whatever, and it occurred to me, about 10, 15 years ago, this occurred to me, is that they're a much bigger person than me, judging them, being able to accept that this is me and this is how I'm going out into the world, and that's just something that they've embraced even, not just
Mm.
accepted, embraced.
Embrace. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So if you've got wild, crazy hair and I think, how come you didn't brush your hair before you got out of bed this morning? Who cares? That's
Right.
that's for them to accept, embrace, and it's in their control, not mine.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
Gosh, I love that. That's such a really, really wonderful that for me, that's a really powerful analogy to think about. And that's pretty metaphoric because I
Mhm.
do think we spend so much time like judging ourselves. And
Mm.
interestingly, I had this conversation the other day with my daughter about people aren't really thinking about the things that you're doing as much as they're thinking about themselves, right? They're stuck and they're kind of caught up in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I literally typed that in an answer later.
Well, it's like it's like, um total brain fart. Hmm.
It's okay.
I thought of a complete analogy there and it just left me.
It's
That's
all
okay.
good. It's
Ivy
all
is
right.
so wise. She just
I'm so
everything that
I'm so
she's
wise.
she is.
There's so much wisdom, sometimes it goes poof.
It just disappears.
It's
But
overloaded.
but I think too, like if you go back to that idea of really embracing the fact that this is who I am and this is
Mhm.
where I'm at and this is what I bring to my world around me, I think it's hard to a lot of times, I know it's for me personally. I think it's hard for us to really step into those shoes and be okay with
Mm.
the things that we don't feel are our best, or we feel like we should be doing it different. I
Mhm.
call it the shoulda, woulda, couldas. Like I should have done
Mhm.
this, I could have done this. If I would have done that, then it throws all of my relevance out as a person and what I can bring as a
Yeah.
unique individual to something
Mhm.
versus, and that mental gymnastics that we do in our brain about, am I okay? Am I good enough? And instead of just accepting the fact that, you know what, I freaking got out of bed and I didn't have to comb my hair today, maybe put it in a top knot and I went out the door and I did my job and I was happy and it was okay.
Yeah.
Mhm. And
Just being who you
also,
are.
when we're worrying about what we're doing, that's what everybody else is doing too. They're not worried about what we're doing. So
Right.
we spend so much time going, "Oh my god, did I say the wrong thing? Did I do the wrong thing? Did I look the wrong way?" And because Joe and Sally are having the same thoughts, you're not the main character here. Everybody's
What are
their
you
own
talking
main
about?
character.
I am the main character.
We're all thinking about Katie.
Yeah.
I
I'm
think
shocked.
it's so prevalent though, because I think we do give so much precedence to what other people are thinking. And then that totally gets us out of our lane about accepting ourselves and what it is that we bring to the table,
Mhm.
honestly.
Mhm.
Let's talk about growing up, the households that you were in terms of acceptance and how that looked. Because I know for me, it was all about what can you do, not who you are, but it's what can you bring, what can you offer, not hey, being okay being the Dawn that I am and
Mhm.
all of those. And I don't want to begrudge my household for that kind of bringing up because raising up rather because I'm okay.
Mhm.
But I think too, if I look back at it, there's pieces of that that I've carried into my adulthood. Honestly, like we always do that. Like the things that we grew up with, we take into our adulthood and we go, all right, I like that. I don't like that. And that's the gift that we then get to pick and choose from what we
Mhm.
want. But if I'm thinking from an acceptance standpoint, I don't know that I was ever really taught like what acceptance really was growing up.
Mm-mm.
Did you have that model to
No.
you?
No.
No. No.
Mm-mm. And
Mm,
actually when I got to that question, I was like, "Well, that was never even a question when I was a kid." It was just I was expected to, I guess, accept it, but it wasn't on the it wasn't ex and, like, nobody said, "Do you accept this life that we've provided for you, or do you accept these rules that we've given for you?" I didn't have a choice.
yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
have a choice when I was younger, and then when I got older and I started to question things, that's when I found out that they didn't really want me to question things. They wanted me to
Mm.
have blind faith in what they had blind faith in.
Mhm.
Right, right.
Mhm,
It's I think
mhm,
as you grow, then I love that. You start questioning the different places that you've been and the different experiences that you've had. And I love what you said too about choice. Like choice is such a big deal. And
mhm,
I fundamentally believe that I've had such a hard time getting to a point where I feel like I have the power to choose something based on where I was rooted and the inability to choose different things when I was younger, because for the lack of control, lack of acceptance, lack of what it might look like.
Mhm.
And that's a whole other mixed bag of things, obviously. But, I think too, when I was younger, I was taught to just push through things. I was not taught to, it's okay if it's like this. It's okay if this experience happens as like this. We're going to still ram that round peg in that square hole and make it work. We're going to push through at all costs. Did you guys
Mhm.
have that kind of experience, or did you have something completely opposite of that?
It was just different than that. So, I mean, I think I was sort of accepted growing up. Like, I feel like my dad accepted me better than my mom did.
Mhm.
She's sort of still trying to change me to this day.
Mhm.
But they're just yeah, I mean, and my dad was estranged from his family shortly after I was born, so I feel like he and I related to one another kind of feeling like weirdos. Um,
Mm.
and it was just a little bit of a different connection, than my mom and I had, but I was taught to accept bad things that happened to me almost as if they were my fault. Like, anytime I would share something bad happened and I'm upset about it, my mom in particular would blame me for it. "Well, you should have done this," or "Why didn't you do this?" or "I would have done this."
Mm.
"This if you had done this, that wouldn't have happened," you know?
Mm. Wow,
Um,
wow.
and I feel like that really was just kind of a knee-jerk reaction for her, like, um, she wasn't thinking about what that was training me to do, you know? But it did kind of ingrain in me that when something goes wrong, it's my fault on some level, and that's something I'm still working through.
Yeah.
But it it was none of those things. It wasn't fix or suppress. It was just sort of like, uh, maybe learn from it, and what you learn is don't let it happen because it's your fault, I guess. It was
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well,
it's
that's
strange.
interesting because I had a mentor at one point tell me the issues are in our tissues. Like he's like,
Mhm.
we're so liquidous. It's even a word, liquidous?
Mm.
I don't know.
I don't
Liquid.
know.
It is
We're made
now.
up of
You
water.
said it.
We've now made it up now. But
Mhm.
we are so full of water, like in this being, in this body that we're in terms of being able to pull in that energy, if you will. Now that's my woo-woo talk for the day right there.
Mhm.
And all of that being said, we hold on to those different memories and we hold on to those different experiences in our body. Like our body holds those messages really strong. And then when we adult, then it's really hard to get to a point where we can step outside of that because it's been ingrained, right? Like Katie,
Mhm.
you were saying, like
Mhm.
that it's almost like it's become an ingrained thing. Well, if something bad happens, it's because of me. So if it's happened, it's because of me, then there must be something wrong with me. And if there's something
Mhm.
wrong with me, then people won't X, Y, or Z. And if people don't X, Y, or Z, then this happened. It's just this big,
Yep.
huge,
Welcome to
stupid
my
loop.
spiral. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
See,
And I
crazy.
I was a little more coddled than that. Like, I feel like my mother had the same kind of I think we talked about a couple weeks ago about how I just wanted my kids to be happy, and my mother, I think, had the same kind of and still, she's always like, if something doesn't feel good, quit. If something and I was allowed to quit everything. Like, I was allowed to quit ballet, I was allowed to quit violin, I was allowed anytime I didn't like something or it got hard, instead of them saying, "You signed up for this, you're gonna finish at least this,"
Yeah.
I was just allowed to quit.
wow,
That's
okay.
so
Yeah, and it
different.
was just it was my mom will be like, "Well, nothing is supposed to hurt. So,
Mm.
therefore, I should not work out, I should not do the walk that I do for breast cancer, I should not do it. Nothing is supposed to hurt, everything is supposed to be I'm supposed to just and that's I don't think that's accepting. I think that's the
Mhm.
opposite of accepting, like,
That's
if
denial.
Yeah,
exactly.
totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so, I mean, in one regard, I was supposed to accept what they wanted me to accept, which was Jesus, and then what anything else I could let go. That
Mm.
was hyper focus
Hmm.
hyper focus, everything is about God, and then everything else is I can just stop if I
Well,
want
I
to.
Wow.
think it's about finding a balance. And I think that's really interesting. Denying our acceptance, that's such a huge thing. It's a denial. It's a denial.
Mhm.
I love what you said there because
Mhm.
it's so true. How do you change that? Like, what do you do with that when as you now become an adult? How do you take that idea and that thought pattern and go, well, this doesn't make sense for me. Like
Well, I
this just
still do
doesn't.
what I wanna do when I wanna do it. I
Good.
mean, I still do that.
So
Thanks,
did
mom.
you what do you think that like trained you to do as an adult? That feeling of, "Oh, I can just quit." Did that make you more tenacious of like, "No, I'm gonna push through. I'm gonna power through and prove I'm not gonna quit."
I don't think that I don't think that I am sitting around ever thinking about that. Like, I wish now that I had not quit those dance classes.
Mhm.
Um, I don't really care about the violin, I never did. Um,
It's violin's
but
really hard, Ivy.
It's so hard.
I wanted to
I
play the
forgive you for that.
viola, and the school ran out of violas, and they they made me play the violin, and look, y'all, I threw it in the case
Wait,
across
wait.
the parking lot to impress a boy. I was in, like, the 4th grade, okay? I threw it, it broke. It was the school's property.
Oh my
My
god,
dad had to
Ivy.
pay my dad had to pay to fix it, and then I got a tape recorder, and I recorded my friend practicing her violin. This was 1980 something, right? Not
Okay.
very good recording quality. I recorded her practicing and thought I could get away with playing it when I was supposed to be practicing the violin. So I think at that point, my dad was just like, "Just stop playing the violin."
Ivy is pure that is what Ferris Bueller would have done.
Oh my gosh,
Like,
you're not wrong.
Yes, that's like my favorite movie in the world.
see, I get it.
Oh,
Oh
If
my
that was
god.
on this questionnaire, it would say Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
this is
Ivy learned more from
amazing.
Matthew Broderick than she did anyone else.
Yes, I'm right there with you, Ivy. Amazing.
Amazing.
Well, let's just talk a little bit about, let's shift it to where you are now and what is the hardest thing in this day, in this age, on this moment that we are taping this podcast. Being gutturally honest, what is the hardest thing for you to accept about yourself right now, right here?
My body issues, the size I am. Um, I just did a long podcast with Ivy about it, and Ivy, I'm sorry. Like, sometimes I feel like we get to, some deep topics on the podcast, and it just feels like an emotional, like, vent session almost.
Well, isn't that good?
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, it wears you out to listen to it over and over, doesn't it? You know? But that's the thing for me, like, I long story short, I've been through some eating disorder stuff, and it's just something I'm still working through, you know? It's
Mm,
always kind of gotten on the back burner in terms of my healing and my own therapy journey, like, there were other issues that seemed to take precedent above that when I was in therapy, so we were working through that first, and it
Mm.
just kinda hasn't been addressed. So, that's the thing that I am trying to tackle next, trying to tackle now, you know?
well, and I think that's what we're all trying to do. We're all just
Mhm.
trying to figure out our why. We're all just trying to figure out our what, and we're all just trying to unwind those emotions because if you think about it, like that's life. Like life just lifes and it's
Mhm.
always constantly throwing something at us.
Mm.
But I hear you, girl. I will tell you the thing that I struggle with pretty regularly, interestingly, is feeling like I have a voice.
Mhm.
And here I am, I'm a voiceover artist, and I have a podcast. I mean, what's that about?
Yeah.
Right. So we just want to throw that one in the ring. Is that me just like screaming, hey, I do have a voice? Like it's something inner knowingly telling me and reminding me that I do have the ability to say what I need to say and in the most respectful and loving and gracious way, obviously try to do the best we can.
Mhm.
But, I think for me, where I grew up and kind of the form that I took in terms of not accepting the present moment, not accepting where you were, not accepting things that were thrown at you with life and how to handle them, then just became this, we just push through and it doesn't matter what's going on with you. It does not matter what you're feeling about it. It doesn't matter. So therefore, accepting yourself as you are is, yeah, that's out the window too. So that's me. Ivy, what about you right now? Anything specific that pops to your head?
Well, specifically my hooded eyelids. But the other thing is, I'm pretty laid back. Like I'm pretty chill, pothead from the day I'm 12 years old. But I noticed today also, again, sort of like reactionary anger that doesn't feel like the who I am that I want to project to the world. And it's never like I wake up angry. It's like an automated phone person bot today told me to watch my offensive language. It was a robot.
Wait.
It was a robot, y'all.
I've never
And
been so proud of you, Ivy. You have offended AI on a personal level.
It was
We've
a
done it.
robot.
We've
How do
broken
you
through.
offend a robot?
Ivy. Oh,
I said fuck. And the robot
it
said,
no.
I understand that there can be stress, but we're not going to have offensive language or something. And I was like,
So now the
and
robots have boundaries.
I have said this for years now. The reason that we have Karens or whatever, I heard that we're changing it to another name, Janice or something.
What?
But yeah,
I didn't get that memo. Hold on a second.
I saw
What's
something.
changing?
Anyway, apparently Karens got mad, but
Shocking.
and well, they should. I know a lot of people named Karen, and they're nice ladies. Yeah. I believe there are Karens, and I've told this to Katie before, and I mean Katie is the girl that answers the phone sometimes, but automated phone systems, the bots themselves, the ones that push this, not just the answering. I think those are the reason we have Karens. Having to push every time I pushed the one, that was all I was trying to do was push the one, and it kept saying, we didn't get your answer. Sorry, we didn't get your answer. And then hung up on me twice because I timed out. And then I got scolded by a robot for saying an offensive word.
That is so upsetting.
It was so upsetting, right? But look, Mr. Rogers taught me better than to get angry like that and like yell. And that's what happens. It's like reactionary. It's not like I get angry at certain things. I could have a great conversation with a robot if they're not sending me from button to button to button, or with my mom if she's not pushing all my buttons. Or
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's always it's always reactive. But I wish that I could just always be the chill person that I tell people I am. And so accepting the fact that I'm not always this, kind, loving hippie lady is hard to accept.
But you're allowed to have anger and express anger. And I would say, arguably, it's healthier to cuss at a robot than it is to cuss at a person.
And I'm a redhead.
Yes, you are.
I don't know if you've heard about the redheads.
Maybe once.
But there's a little bit of a temper thing that's not a lie.
Well, you kind of have that propensity towards triggering. Yeah. Like that it can happen as a redhead. I have friends that are redheads. Same.
But totally. I don't like it.
Well, okay. And it goes back to what you said earlier. There's different things. You said this, liking versus accepting.
Yeah.
You don't have to like. I think that's such a big piece for me from what has been said so far today. It's that just because of an experience or a circumstance happens in a way that is not pleasing to us, or it does not feel warm and fuzzy and all the things, doesn't mean that it's not something that we can go, all right, I have a feeling about it. I have an emotion about it. I don't like it, but I don't have to hang on to that emotion. And it doesn't directly correlate to defining who I am at the heart of my being.
Yeah.
That's basically. And I think maybe it's an age situation, because if you were to talk to me, probably we had this podcast. Let's see, I'm 52. If we had this podcast, even when I was 42, like
Mhm.
Katie, I probably would be sitting here like with the tissues in my hand right now, Charlie, like crying, going, I don't know that I really feel like I could be X, Y, or Z. You know, I think there's an aging component that comes in, which kind of takes me into the next place here that I want to talk to you guys about. Are there things that you're still, as you've aged, that you're still kind of negotiating about yourself, about I can accept this, but I'm not going to accept this? Okay, but today I'm going to accept this, but I definitely am not going to accept this. Like that fighting, that inner war that kind of goes back and forth in our brains.
Oh,
Not for
yeah.
myself, but for what's around me, yes. For myself, like, when it's not a lie what they say, when you turn 50, you don't have any more fucks to give. I am just who I am. But
Mhm.
there are things in this world that I don't want to accept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I blocked my brother today finally on all devices. Blocked, gone, bye. Because I'm not going to accept from him not being accepted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
we have choice. And that goes back to that choice. You know, like you can question it, but you also have a choice in the
Mhm.
direction that you go. So you have a choice in what you think. But I think it's interesting too how we can get caught up in our brain. Like if you think about, you just block somebody on social media, right? Like you're talking about, right? And
Mhm.
all across all
And my
aspects.
phone, not just social media.
Yeah.
No more
All the way
contact.
across it.
Mhm.
So you think about that and how long it took you to get to a place where you could choose that and feel like I'm okay with doing that. And
Mhm.
it's not going to define who I am, because
Mhm.
this has happened and I've done so much around it to try to make it okay. And for now, I'm going to protect like protecting your peace, kind of protecting who you are so
Yeah,
that you
I don't
can
like the
be okay who you are.
I don't like the reactive anger, and
Mhm.
so I'm gonna cut off one source of the reactive anger.
Yeah.
Mhm. Katie, what about you?
Um, I was kind of thinking along the same lines in terms of like stuff that I cannot control outside of my, purview, things happening in the world that I don't want to accept as
Mm,
being okay. That I refuse to accept as being okay, but also have to accept that I am one human person who also has a job and other responsibilities, and I can only do so much to affect change,
mhm,
Yeah.
Um, but one of the most powerful things that we have is our voices. Like you were saying, Dawn, you like one of the only things I can do is say how I feel, and
Mhm.
hopefully through authenticity and positivity when I can find it, which is not always easy, uh, affect some people in a positive way. That's kind of
Yeah.
all we can hope for, you know?
Yeah. It's authenticity. It's living from your true authenticity. And I think that kind of goes hand in hand with the word acceptance. It's being
Mhm.
authentically whole for who you are and where you are in any specific point in time. I think
Mhm.
too, living with acceptance and what that looks like is different for me from day to day. And there's some days where I'm wake up and I'm feeling pretty jolly about, yeah, I think it's going to be great. And then something comes and just hits me upside the head right in the middle of my day after I feel like I'm having a really good, productive work day or a good, productive, time with a relationship in my life, and something just bam, like drops a zinger right in the middle of it. I think for me anyway, the first thing that goes is acceptance. I start self-questioning about, okay, what did I do in that situation? How have I contributed to it? What's wrong with me? Instead of just going, all right, like you said, like I have this space where I can feel things, I can verbalize what it is that I need to, hopefully as respectfully and positively as I can. But no, sometimes I have to back that up because I may not be that. I may be angered, or I may be kind of fired up about something.
Mhm.
mm,
But I think for me, it all just boils back down to that. I want to be authentic, but I also want to accept who I am. And where's the balance in being honest with somebody, but also being respectful in the interaction? That makes any
mm,
sense?
mhm.
Yeah.
Like, how do you do that? Like, I had this conversation with my husband. We were having an argument the other day. And I was like, look, I'm going to be honest about where I'm coming from. You may not like what it is that I'm saying, and that's okay. Because as long as I'm being honest with you, this is for the betterment of our relationship. But I also have to be respectful, and have to speak to you in a way that, we can have regard for one another, and we can have conflict, and that's okay. And we can both be different people existing in the same relationship with two different thought forms, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And I don't have to abandon who I am to make someone else's experience better, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah. That's something I struggle with too. And I think that comes from that place of whenever I would say something bad happened to me, feeling like I was being blamed for it, and it's translated into whenever my husband is in a bad mood, it is my fault. What have I done to cause it? What can I do or if I didn't
How
cause it,
can you
what
fix
can I
it?
do to make it better? It's my job to make it better. Turning that switch off in my brain is a big challenge. And having to break that thought pattern, something that I definitely struggle with. And sometimes he'll be like, Katie, you don't have to fix this. Like, I'm just pissed off about X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
just let me be pissed and I'll get over it,
Yeah, Ivy, you said it. Like, how can I fix it? Like, that's a big deal. And I think when we start going into other people's arenas and trying to fix their stuff, then we totally abandon our authenticity and our own personal space. Because
Yeah.
and it goes back to what we were saying earlier in the talk about how people aren't really thinking about what you're thinking about. They're thinking about what they're thinking about.
Yeah.
Like,
They're thinking
like
about
their
themselves.
selfishness. Yeah.
Yeah. We go home from a party worried about all the dumb things we said, and so did everybody else. And so they're not thinking about the dumb thing you said. They're thinking about the dumb thing they said.
That's right.
Oh my God. Right. And then we're
Mhm.
all struggling with this mental
Yeah.
crap that's just like nonstop. Like, oh, what do they think? Oh my gosh, maybe I said too much. Maybe I did. And it's just a nonstop. It goes back into that silly little cycle. And then, accepting ourselves as being an okay. And I put that in air quotes, okay. Like, what is okay really? Like, it's relative to the moment. It's relative to the day. It's relative to our experience. And how does that feed into accepting the person that we are? And just being, I think maybe we should talk a little bit about confidence and how that plays into the role of acceptance. Like, what is confidence in the role of self-acceptance? Since we're driving the car down that road of
I think
this
it's
is
kind of the same thing. A little bit, maybe. I don't know. I have not spent a lot of time in my life thinking about accepting myself or my own confidence. I just have lived my life, and that's it. I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about anything like that.
Well, you're pretty confident, Ivy.
I
think
guess
so.
that's what it
Yeah.
is. I guess I'm just confident.
You got it together.
Yeah, I totally see that.
I got my
Yeah,
shit
I mean,
You say what you mean, and you mean it, and that's it. And
Typically, yeah.
yeah, if you say something that you feel like is kind of a hot take, then you're like, here's where I'm coming from on that. And I don't mean it like this. This is how it is. And I'm, can't argue with that.
I'm like
Um,
Popeye. I am what I am, and that's all that I am.
I think confidence, because I have confidence in just abundance. I do not have complete acceptance of myself. So for me, there's a difference between confidence for me comes from feeling like I know what I'm talking about, feeling like I know that I have a level of intelligence that I'm comfortable with. I know that I can take control of a room. I can lead a meeting. These certain skills I have confidence in, right? But if you go, Katie, here's a softball, throw it to me, confidence gone. Zero
Well,
confidence.
see,
Yeah.
and when you were saying that, I was like, I don't wanna lead a meeting.
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
have that confidence. I don't wanna do that. I want
Yeah.
Katie to lead the meeting, and I'm just gonna
That's why you guys
can
compliment
make
each other
sarcastic
so well.
comments while I'm leading the meeting.
I can just be sarcastic about it.
You're like,
I can
"You
make
believe this
fun of
bitch?"
you.
I think
Yeah.
it's interesting you brought up the term complete acceptance. Do you think that any of us at any point in our life, unless you're like the Dalai Lama
Yeah.
completely accept ourselves
Yeah, I
ever?
feel like that's a level of, spiritual enlightenment that I've yet to achieve, I think.
Yeah, because look, we just said that I was confident, and then Katie started naming things she was confident in doing, and I was like, no, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all just really relative to our
I
experience.
think it's all
honestly.
relative. Mhm.
Yeah, and I think too, if you think about again, I go back to this piece. Maybe we should rename the episode. I don't know, but it's all this the deal about feeling like you are affecting someone else's life in such a way that they are constantly ruminating on you after you leave an interaction with them when they're really ruminating on their own stuff. And how do we step out of that and let that go and just be okay with where we are and who we are and accept ourselves even 1%. If you had to guess, I'm just going to put you totally on the spot here on a 1 to 100% scale, 100% being obviously yes, all in, 1% being yeah, I'm kind of under the basement right now. Where do you feel like you are in terms of self-acceptance today?
I
75,
I'm good.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
75%. Like I've realized that the issues that I have, like my shadow self is not 100% of me, you know. It's maybe we'll call it 25% on a bad day, I would say. I know what they are. I've identified them. So
Mhm.
when they try to come up and bite me in the ass, I'm like, "I see you. I see what that
Mhm.
is." You know,
Mhm.
can I always beat it back down into submission? No, you know. Sometimes it wins, but at least I know it when I see it.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Ivy, are you at 100?
I don't want to say that I'm at 100 because 2 minutes later, one of you will say something and I'll be like, wait a second, but like, I really can't think of anything that I don't like 100%, well, at least 50% accept. Like I said, I wish that I never got angry. I wish that
Mhm.
I never felt that um desire to raise my voice. I'm always going to curse. Most of the time it's not out of anger, so that's the same, but like I brought this up multiple times to Katie, but I read a book called One Nun and 100,000, and it's the only life-changing book I've ever read in my whole life, and I have read the Bible. One Nun and 100,000
Okay.
is an amazing book for anyone who thinks they know who they are, because you don't know who you are because you're somebody else to every single person you meet. I don't get to tell Dawn who I am. I don't get to tell Katie who I am. I don't even get to tell my husband who I am. I am a different person to everyone who meets me. They all see me differently. They all see my face differently. They all see my hair differently. They all see my body differently. Everybody sees everybody differently. So you don't get to tell someone who you are, because I can tell
Mhm.
my mom all day long that I am a nice person, and she's still going to believe that I am mean to her.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's just it's just in this book, the very beginning, the man, he goes crazy because his wife tells him his nose is crooked. And he's like, I never saw that about me before until my wife told me my nose was crooked. And it went down this whole, and I mean, there was a part in that book that just I remember, like, I was embarrassed of a friend of mine, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to introduce this person to this other group, and I was like, "But I love them both.
Right.
So why don't I let them decide for themselves? It's not a reflection on me."
Mhm.
But I was
Right.
looking at it as a reflection on me, but it's not a reflection on me. It's not my problem what anybody thinks of me or my people.
Yeah.
It
Mhm.
only matters what they think of me and I think of them.
It's none of
Well,
our
and
business what anyone else thinks of us.
Exactly. Yeah.
completely. Yeah.
Mhm.
And in that, when you step into that whole idea, it really allows other people to really fully be themselves. So then we are allowing other people to step into acceptance just
Mhm.
by being who we are. I was writing a segment for a book that I'm in the middle of, and I was talking about one of my podcast guests from year one and how he was kind of this guffaw of a guy, but you look at him and he just has this confidence it's more of a surety kind of about who he is and how he
Mhm.
carries himself. He's
Mhm.
definitely not perfect. He will be the first one to tell you that. But there's a piece when you're around somebody like that and he is just who he is authentically and accepts himself with the flaws and everything that he carries wholeheartedly, that then I feel like I've got permission to be who I am. I have permission to be completely authentically accepting and the person that I am
Yeah, but who
without
do you need that permission from?
this is true.
Yeah.
You need it from you. Like you need to allow yourself. It's a choice you got to find on your
Mhm.
own. You got to
Mhm.
figure that one out. But
Mhm.
do you think that you can do that at a young age? Or do you think we go back to the whole aging thing? Do you think that you have to go through
Mm.
experiences to finally figure out, well, that really sucked. I hated everything about that. Or that was
Yeah.
really lovely. And I want to take that with me. And that's what's going to define how I feel about myself and where I land in this world emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, even all the things.
So having taught elementary students, I, there's a certain age where kids lose that, you know.
Yep. About 5th
Mhm.
grade.
It's about yeah, I was gonna say 4th grade. Yeah,
Mhm.
4th, 5th grade, where we are suddenly aware that we have to impress other people and we don't
Yep.
totally accept ourselves anymore, you
Mhm.
know.
Mm.
And that's why when I was teaching that age, I really loved teaching 3rd grade because that was about the last time where I could really confidently expect every kid in the class to like go with me on an adventure. You know, let's play a game together, let's play pretend, and we're all confident and fun and it's cool. After that, some of the kids are too cool for that or they're embarrassed or whatever, you know. So I think we go through phases and like
Mhm.
that's part of reparenting and healing your inner child is getting yourself back to that point where you're like, yeah, I can play a game. I can be silly. I can just show up and be a dork and it's okay. People like
Mhm.
dorks. People laugh with
Yes.
you when you're a dork. It's fine.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, that's my take on that.
Well, I think
Well,
there's a lot of, like, 20-something people who come across as confident, but I don't think they are.
Yeah, they're faking it till they make it, and
Yeah.
that's allowed.
yeah. Which let's talk about that one. Is it okay to fake it till you make it?
I
I
just
hope
don't
so
like
because
the
I do
tough
it every
guy
day.
act that these young people put on. Like,
Mhm.
"I don't care about anything. I don't care about anyone. I don't care about that. I don't care about that." And I'm like, "That's such a bunch of bull."
Mhm.
That's not how I
Yeah.
interpret the fake it till you make it idea to me. It's more like, um, I am going to pretend that I have the confidence in myself to do
Yeah,
XYZ, right?
right.
Okay.
Not necessarily I don't care,
No, that's different. I was
but
talking about the
yeah,
tough guy act. You were talking about
that
I was
yeah, that
talking about a
act
different
that they use to compensate for their low
Mhm.
confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
okay, yeah, I see it.
And the thing that they don't feel good in their own skin. Like they just
Mhm,
don't feel comfortable being who they
mhm,
are.
mhm.
Mhm.
Which it's so funny because my younger daughter was saying, could totally gonna call her out on this one. She's an athlete in college, and she's like, "I am such a nerd, and I love it. I love studying. I love my classes." And I'm like, "Well, she was a decent student in high school, did great to enough to be able to get a, partial academic scholarship as well. But the problem is I don't think she ever just allowed herself to call herself like a nerd, if you will, like
Mhm.
being very like I'm figuring out the things that really make me me, and
Mhm.
I'm accepting them now instead of putting like this big cinder block wall up around myself and saying that's not okay,
Yeah,
that's not acceptable to be because who has told me? Has society told me? Has my
yeah,
friends told me? Has my experiences has God for like when my kids are in their 30s, they'll be in therapy over me, I'm sure. Has my mom told me, all the things.
mhm. Yeah, it's so freeing to be a nerd. It's so
Mhm.
freeing. I give a lot of credit to the film Napoleon Dynamite for making it cool to be a nerd again.
Love that one.
So if you haven't seen it, listeners, please go watch it. It'll make you happy.
It will. And if you haven't seen it, you probably have been living under a rock, honestly.
Probably, but you never know.
That's
Um,
good.
yeah, being a nerd is so much easier than pretending to be cool.
Mhm. Totally, totally. So I want to go one more thing before we wrap up, and I want to talk just a minute. Ivy, you brought this up. Like, who do you need permission from to be accepting of yourself? I love that you said that. You totally called me on that one when I was just describing that that relationship with the gentleman I was talking about from my podcast. And
Mhm.
that's so fundamentally true that I don't think that we look past and deep enough a lot of times, because I
Mm.
know for me, there's been pieces of my therapy along the way where like my therapist will help me pull back this curtain behind, like, let's look behind door number 3, Dawn, today and
Mhm.
see what's awaiting there. And I'm like, hell no, put that curtain back. I'm not going there today. But going there means that I'm addressing different, like Katie, you said, like shadow parts of yourself that are really important to understanding the whole of who we are. So therefore, we can then accept who we
Mm.
are and we can do it. We're not relying on someone else to tell us it's okay to accept you and you're okay as you are.
Yeah.
And I think too, if you look, has there been people in your life that you've given that power away to? I mean, I've just told you, like I have. Like, has there been people in your life that you've gone, hmm, yeah, I felt like I needed to be a certain way. I needed to impress a certain way. I needed to have this interaction, or I had to have this kind of behavior for me to be
Totally.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, of
Every
course.
guy I dated before I was like 36. Yeah.
I think a lot of people, I don't wanna say girls, but I don't have as much experience with it with guys as with girls who will all of a sudden like something they never liked before because of a dude or even because of another friend of theirs.
Mm,
Now, it's different if you try something and you like it, like something that you've never tried before with someone, you
mhm,
try that,
totally.
you like it, whatever. But when you are like ninth grade, me in the ninth grade, uh, sat down in my new school, sat down, looked at the girl's folder next to me, and she had all these like punk rock stickers, and she had one that said meat is murder. I never ate meat after that day to this day. Because she had green hair and a sticker on her folder that said meat is murder. I
Oh,
went home and told my mom I was never gonna eat meat again.
okay.
Like, molding yourself to fit into I
Mhm.
did kind of fit into that, and she didn't have green hair because she was a punk, she had green hair because she had bleached h her hair and gone swimming. So,
Yeah.
I thought that I was, like, gonna be this cool, hip, whatever. Um, but yeah, I think that in life, people will see somebody that they want to kind of be like and try to turn themselves into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you throw all self-acceptance out the window at that
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
because you're totally deviating away from everything that you're created to be, which is,
Mhm.
you have value, you have your unique pieces are valuable to the community that you're in, whether you sometimes feel it or not. And that goes back to the fake it till you make it kind of thing. I think sometimes
Yeah.
we just have to take a deep breath and step into our knowing that, I do have validity in this situation that
Mhm.
I'm in, and I do
Mhm.
matter. It totally does. Think about this one though. Let's talk one more thing before we wrap up. I want to talk a little bit about when life feels maybe unfair or unfinished. How do you deal with accepting what you're in the midst of, accepting what you're seeing, accepting those things that you're looking at, like in a landscape where things are just really hard?
Mhm.
And it doesn't feel like it's being fair. How do you go, okay, it's okay. I can accept where this is for me for now, or accepting it means doing something about it, or accepting it means what does it mean for you?
It's a process. The other thing that came up for me with the word acceptance was the stages of grief and how
Mm,
acceptance is the last one.
mhm,
So, depending on the severity of the thing, and it sounds like we're talking about, you know, some of the worst things that we can go through. It is a grief process. And one of the ways that, for instance, when we lost my dad, what that we found acceptance eventually was by finding gratitude in any small things that we could about
Mm.
it was a awful, terrible, sad, tragic thing that none of us wanted to happen, but we had to accept it, and the only way to get there was to go through the whole process of grief and accept that gratitude can be found and focused on instead of the rest. Dawn said it best on our podcast, that 1% positivity that you can just hone in on, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So there were things about it that we were grateful for, and that's just what we had to concentrate on.
That's
Yeah.
so funny because when I wrote this down, and I wrote down the absence of control, there's just a little arrow up that says with some gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Because
oh,
I do think that that's, I don't even know what the stages of grief are, but finding out that acceptance is the last one, and then what you just said about the gratitude made me think
Mhm.
about that I made that side note
mhm.
way after I started taking these notes. But Dawn, you said something, and I noticed it on this sheet also. Life is always going to feel unfinished until it's over, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
That's the
Then
way
you
I
come back as a ghost with your unfinished
that
business.
is the plan. I would
Yeah.
love that.
I'm
Um,
gonna haunt so good one day.
oh my God.
Same.
You know
Yes.
that Tori Amos song?
Which one?
If I died today, I'd be the happy phantom.
Ooh,
I'd
I
go
need to go listen to
chasing
that.
the nuns out in the yard.
Heck
Why
yeah,
do I
I
not
love
know that
Rama.
song?
Oh, I love that song. And if I
Okay, well,
died
that's what I'm
today, I'd
looking up.
be the happy phantom, and I'll go chasing the nuns out in the yard. It's so cute. Listen
Well,
to it.
it's queued up on my Spotify as soon as we're done here.
Same.
I'm telling you. You think I'm lying. That and the
No.
book that you talked about, like, those are the 2 things. I'm putting that in my Amazon basket as soon as we're done too.
Growing up, just about what you just said ago, I can't tell you how many times a day one of my parents told me life wasn't fair.
Mm,
I do not say that. I
Mhm.
don't say life isn't nothing's fucking fair.
Yeah.
mhm.
Fair is fake.
Yeah.
And my parents also did try to make everything fair. Every
Yeah.
Well,
to
when
this
you try to make it all fair, like, you have this huge wad of goo,
no,
there's
to
no
this day, my mother, if she gives somebody $100, she's gotta give everybody $100.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Mm,
But we've talked, I think, way back in time, Ivy, do you remember when we were talking about equity and how that's different from fairness? Giving people what they need to succeed
Right.
is different than just giving everybody the same thing.
Because everybody's
And we
needs are
all have
different.
different
different.
needs.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
I don't
Ooh.
need the same thing that my brother needs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't need the same things. My kids don't need the same things as each other. I heard somebody on YouTube, just a short clip the other day. He said nobody grows up in the same house with the same parents because everybody has different needs, and so their parents are going to parent each one differently. And
Yes.
I thought that was really profound,
Mm.
especially in what we talked about the other day, as well as what we're talking about today, is
Mhm.
that no one's needs are the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that lets people off the hook. I mean, that just let me off the hook when you said that, because I think about raising the 2 people that my husband and I had here in this household until they left and went to college and moved on out. But the problem that I think I put myself under as a mom is the scrutiny of, did I do enough? Was it too much for this one? Was it too little for that one?
Mhm.
But that's a great snapshot to go
I mean,
from,
we're
and the
always
fact
gonna have
that,
mom guilt.
well, true. Like, we
Yeah.
just let's do an episode on mom guilt. I think that'd be great. Totally.
Yeah. I
But
mean, I could
that's
monopolize that.
but I think that's really, you said it, it's profound. It's really a profound thing, because how does that then play into the acceptance? I think we have to be our real, true, fundamental self to be able to freely give of ourselves in a way that is meaningful. And I'm not saying that you're in a hard piece of time and you can't be meaningful. That's not what I'm saying. But, like, what is at the heart of who you are, and how does that make you who you are, and how do you move through the world with a place of confidence and that self-acceptance of, I'm okay, and I can bring this out, and it's a positive, and it will benefit someone, and it is meaningful. I think too, I think there's a certain peace to self-acceptance that, I love that you brought up the 5 stages of grief, and how acceptance is the last one.
Mhm.
That to me is pretty profound.
Yep.
I mean, and the fact that gratitude accompanies that, and how when you look for those little pieces, those pockets of gratitude, what that can shift in you personally to then accept yourself on a bigger level.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I told you I looked up acceptance after I filled all this out. And the one thing I didn't think of at all when I was writing this is accepting a gift, accepting a present,
Mhm.
accepting a thing. And I think that just, especially with what Katie said about grief, ties that together and might even, if we're going like super into it, might even have something to do with the words themselves having been created the way they are, because there's three different definitions in the dictionary of acceptance, accepting or accept or whatever.
Mhm.
And how do you decide what they mean? Well, accepting a gift, you are grateful for that. Accepting that what we have may be a gift, be a little grateful for that.
Yeah.
Show gratitude. I don't
Yeah.
remember what the
It's
third definition is.
but it feels like it's all kind of relative to the period on the end of the sentence being gratitude. Like
Yep.
that's the thing where it all kind of comes home to roost. And if we can find that piece of gratitude for just a moment, for 1%, then
Absolutely.
there's a positive shift for accepting who we are and what we bring to the table.
Mhm.
And there's something
So
to be said about gratitude and having peace and joy. If you're grateful, if you're not grateful, then you're just going to be like, but
Mhm.
if you're grateful, even just for one or two things, you don't have to be grateful for everything. But if you're grateful, if you show gratitude, if you say thank you to somebody or something once a
Mhm.
day, I think you'll be a little happier.
For
Yeah.
sure. For
And then
sure.
you think about the acceptance thing. If you can accept just one thing about yourself today that you've been struggling with, even just a piece of it, even just a small percentage of it, that can be enough shift for you to then look at yourself maybe differently in an interaction, maybe differently in your work, maybe differently in however you're moving through your day. And that, those small little pieces then grow exponentially as you continue to practice it. It's like a muscle. It's a
Yeah.
choice. It's a muscle that we have to exercise
Yeah.
basically. And you just can't see it. And I think that's where you're called to be like, all right, I know that it's real. I know that this is a fundamental thing that I have to get to a point where I feel at least a certain amount of peace for who I am and what I bring to the table. And
Mhm.
that to me is acceptance. What's acceptance for you? What does acceptance for you mean? Like, bottom line, mic drop moment. Give me what you got.
It means letting go. Letting go of things I cannot change from the past, letting go of trying to control everyone and everything, and just sort of trusting that I am gonna have to go with the flow, and the right things and the right people will come to me when they're meant to, and that's not like a woo-woo thing, it's just a literally that happens, you know?
Mhm.
Um, for instance, when I first quit teaching and I made the full-time leap into doing voiceover, I was totally terrified that I wouldn't have enough work, that I was gonna fail, and it was just a whole spiral. But as soon as I kinda just said, "Okay, I've done everything I can, it's out of my control now, and all I can do is just let the energy come back to me, just let it come back," and it did. And as soon as I hit that level of acceptance of, like, "This is the best I can do, it's out of my control," boom, it came right back.
They say, do it afraid.
Do it afraid. Yep.
Ooh, love it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I changed 3 light bulbs afraid yesterday.
Good job.
For me, going right back to what I said in the beginning is it's the absence of control with a side order of gratitude.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah. And then maybe for dessert, we throw in some surrender.
Never.
Yeah. Wait. You guys are awesome. Will you come back and talk some more on another subject?
Yes,
Anytime.
please.
Will you come back on our podcast sometime?
Absolutely,
We're just gonna
120%.
my
go in
gosh.
circles, and in between, we're gonna go to a drag brunch.
Yes.
Cannot wait next month.
Yes.
Let's go.
Okay.
So
I'll
exciting.
find a good one.
Please do. Please do. You guys, this has been so fun. I really I love spending time with you guys. I love the banter back and forth. And I
Same.
love the communication and the fact that the authenticity for each of you and who you are, what you bring to the table. So I would wager to bet that I'm just going to tell you what I see today. And I see acceptance and authenticity on you that I admire. And I'm so thankful to
Oh.
call you both friends. So,
Oh, we're so
Thank
grateful
you,
for
Dawn.
you, Dawn.
Yes.
oh, thank you. I'm
Yeah.
making the little hand, the heart hands. Right there you go. Right. What a cheesy way to end this podcast. But there
Yeah,
you
I'm a Gen X. This
It's
is
okay to
my
be a
heart.
dork, Dawn.
go. Ivy just threw up her Gen X heart hand. Yeah. We'll talk
What
about
does
that
that
later.
mean? What is that? I'm too
You didn't
young.
see it?
No, she's like this big on my screen.
We'll talk about it later.
Okay, teach me later, Mom. All right.
Absolutely. You guys, thanks so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day, a great rest of your week, and I'll see you at the next voiceover meetup.
All right, we'll see ya.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.